What's good, YouTube? We got a video about Nina Lynn, the notorious female streamer who has done some crazy things. And when I say crazy, I mean like the first thing that popped off was I think essay allegations on a man. It was not really allegations that actually happened. It was like live. Then after that, she doubled down, and then she got caught stealing, and she doubled down, and then she got into an argument with a regular person and like had a superiority complex to a streamer and doubled down. But we have the leader of the unemployed news network, Omizi, giving us a breakdown of some new drama involving Nina Lynn. As always, we're gonna preview a little light. And we got Nina Lynn is allergic to accountability. It's your main man Sly. Sly on your timeline of some content. And let's just slide right in.
There's a lot of instances that happened with our group member, Nina.
Yo, you might be fucking retarded, bro. Are you good in the head?
See, there's that. The essay.
Hey, yo, cut the cameras, cut the cameras.
You can tell us some cut the camera.
Yo, cut the cameras, bro. Zo, do your shit.
You know, one of the things that made it hard for us to continue as a group was that it always had to be her way.
I know this guy. He was streaming with Max.
And it would always be, well, I'm gonna do with me. Time and time again, like, hey, you know, we are trying to hold what we thought was a friend accountable, and that friend says we're not being friends because we're trying to hold them accountable.
Well, I'll be. I darn near forgot about Nina Lynn, but it seems as though the rain is continuing to pour on her. Just a year ago, she seemed to have one of the most bubbling and bright careers in the new streaming era. Collaborations with Agent, appearances on Streaming University, connections with the FaZe guys, and she had a consistent group channel, O3, that was actually doing very well with some very prominent members. But within a year, all of that went away, and it was due to one thing and one thing only: her inability to hold herself accountable for her actions, apologize, do the work, and ultimately move on. So when her group decided to put out a video talking about how they decided to part ways from her, I thought it would be a perfect time to teach the lesson that you cannot escape your digital footprint. And at the end,
besides that, every action has consequences. It's just what Newton said. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's life. That's every single thing we do. No matter how lightly you touch a bucket of water, the water's going to ripple out and ripple out and ripple out. And that's kind of inspiration from someone who commented, I believe, on the IRO video. But that's life, bro. Every little thing you do, despite how little it seems, impacts someone else. And if you're constantly thinking about that, yes, there's a lot of pressure behind decisions you make, which is why you make them primarily based off like your ego. Not like in a prideful way, but in your sense of self. You make them based off who you are. Your you know, spatial awareness, your intuition is essentially who you are. It's been derived from countless experiences, different understandings you come to, etc. And that's why we don't see that on a day-to-day. But if you don't have the ability to reflect and look at the bigger picture and see what your actions have done, that lack of accountability is critical. And it's like a self-destructive tendency in a way, and it's a sign that you're not going anywhere in your life, not in a like, you know, derogatory way or a way to insult someone, but quite literally you're like nerfing yourself from, it's like someone handing you EXP and you don't take the time to like take a Final Fantasy reference, specifically 15. That's the one I played. You get the EXP from doing your missions and stuff, but you don't get the EXP until you go to sleep or rest, or if like a save point progresses in the story. Let's say it's only if you rest and you meditate and reflect. This is like doing a full playthrough of the game without resting once. You still gained all the EXP. You have like hundreds of thousands of EXP waiting to be claimed, but you never take the time to get it. There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. And this is what I mean. She has a bunch of knowledge, she doesn't have the wisdom. The wisdom is how you apply your knowledge. You need to reflect to turn the knowledge that you have to wisdom. If you make a stupid decision, you're not stupid, you're not dumb. You took an opportunity to use your knowledge, it didn't play out how you wanted it to play out. Now that becomes wisdom. It's sharper than it was before. Iron sharpens iron, brother sharpens brother. Decision sharpens decision. With every decision you've made in your life, you've become better in some way, whether in your analyticalness and like knowing that you need to think before you jump, or whether it's knowing the nuances of certain things. Like when it comes to taking that leap of faith, sometimes you have to not have the information that backs it up. You have to go on trusting yourself. And in other cases where it's like you're dealing with another human being, you should probably know before you do this or that because it can make them uncomfortable. Those nuances come from accountability and self-reflection.
End of the day, accountability trumps all. If you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'm gonna hold you guys accountable. You're consuming content from me.
I've
The
already
least
hit
you
it.
can do is click that little subscribe button down below.
I hit that
It'll
bell
go
too.
a long way for this community. Now, back into the video. Like I said, Nina Lynn had a sweet deal. Most content creators have to come up by themselves, build their own audience, build their own brand. And not taking it away from her, she did that in her own regards. But she quickly was able to
Because even if you want to talk about like AMP or FaZe, they got it out the mud. Any like big org you could think about, like you come up off your own and then you make a group that like multiplies y'all talents pretty much and your like exposure. But when with collabs nowadays, it's like, say you had the ability to manipulate people's mind and you like just manipulated every top streamer to like putting you on a video. Regardless of if you're talented or not, people might see you and go, oh, that person's kind of cool. Or, oh, they talk about this thing. I'm just follow. And then just like that, you blow up. That's kind of a situation that I believe Omar is referring to.
team up with two very solid YouTubers, Jimmy Zhang, who has 1 million subscribers, and
I
Edward
did not
Sung,
know
who
that.
basically has 1 million subscribers, in order to create a group channel called O3. They would do IRL lifestyle content, dating style challenges, you know, the typical 20v1 AMP-esque videos. And this, coupled along with her appearances with people like Fan or Wendy Ortiz, meant that Nina Lynn pretty much had a fast track to being one of the biggest
Crazy
names
amount of
in not just
exposure.
streaming, but
Yeah.
content creation as a whole. I think one very underrated thing about Nina is her background. I'm talking about her ethnicity, nationality, and her race. She was going to be somebody who was going to be able to resonate
on
with
for
a
a
whole
community.
Eastern culture
Yeah.
that those in the United States could not do. In fact, she acted as some sort of medium / translator for content creators in the past because they needed her to basically
the
gain
agent
access to that
kind
whole
of thing.
culture that
Yeah.
has billions of people in it. But instead of nurturing this opportunity that she had, Nina ultimately squandered it. Over the past year, Nina Lynn has been in controversy after controversy after controversy after controversy.
The best way to explain it is it's like having a plant that produces fruit. Or a plant that produces fruit. And instead of felling it at a certain point and then letting it grow back or taking part of the plant, sometimes you can graft it off, I believe is the term you use, and planting it down so you can multiply the amount of plant you have, or just taking care of the plant so it can constantly produce you fruit and you can always be fed. It's like having that plant or that tree, whatever you want to call it, and just taking everything it has for like all at once. When you build a certain rapport, you're allowed to make mistakes. People have grown attached to you, they shoot you bail. But she just constantly made mistakes, and in this way constantly took bites of that fruit, constantly took pieces of bail that she didn't have, and then once she lost all that footing, no one can really stand beside you.
Controversy. And I'm not going to go into super depth
sucks.
about it. I've made plenty of videos, whether it be her just being a general nuisance at a nail salon, her in this kleptomania that she just has in her body, and definitely the
money, by
Saeed
the way.
situation where she not only participated in the essay, but also then went on to deny the essay over and over and over and over and over again. Now, off top, controversy isn't something that is like career.
Don't forget, she also apologized and then like essentially clowned the person who did it and turned it into a bit. So she tried to monetize off of someone's like suffering in a way.
Ending. We've seen different content creators go through many a different
It could be
controversies,
intentional,
some
but
that I
yeah.
would say are way worse than what Nina even went through, but have ultimately bounced back from
back,
those
yeah.
things. They've then
Like,
gone on
look
to
at
have
Speed.
bigger, better, greater careers than even before they were in said controversy. But if I had to say the one thing that would define if you are going to bounce back and then bounce up out of this atmosphere, or bounce up and then bounce down through the floor when it comes to being a controversial figure, is one
It's
thing
like
and one
that
thing alone. That's accountability for your
self-reflection.
actions.
Nina, you somebody, Nina, you shoplifted. Can we tone it down? All of that just like in one ear out the other. Hey, maybe it's not okay to do that to a mom who's out in the salon or whatever. Maybe it's not okay to do that at Target. Maybe it's not okay to do that to a taxi driver. There's a lot of things that weren't okay, and it would always be, well, I'm gonna do me. Time and time again, like, hey, we are trying to hold what we thought was a friend accountable, and that friend says we're not being friends because
And sometimes you have to cut those people off, and that sucks, especially if you're someone who considers yourself a good person. It's like in life, if you know the secrets of the universe, so to speak, not to make it a very grandiose thing, but it kind of is, knowing the inner workings of how people think, how we work, and how to become better, not everyone knows those things. And that doesn't make you better than them for knowing those things. It just means you can be more fulfilled with your life. I don't think that is a metric of happiness. You can be happy and like be broke. You can be happy and have money. You can be happy and have high social status. You can be happy and have low social status. But your amount of like fulfillment is a metric that varies no matter what class you're in. And I think understanding like those inner workings of the universe and figuring out for yourself what matters most to you and like learning how to grow and develop yourself and get that type of fulfillment from that. When you're that type of person, when you have friends, you hold each other accountable. You make each other better. You help each other figure out who each other are, you know? Like, you're into this, but the influence that we have on each other has, like, put you into this sphere, and then that helps you grow as a man. Da-da-da. That's normal. The same way it's, like, normalized, or should be normalized, to, like, say you love your homies. Like, I love you. That's tough. Appreciate what you did for me, man. Good looking out. That's something you should be able to say without feeling weird or, like, tension. Like, you feel me? If there's tension there, but you know what I'm saying? You might have something for your friend. But you feel me? You're supposed to hold people accountable, whether that be friends or if you're in a relationship. You want your partner to be better. If they're doing something that generally, societally, or you personally find distasteful, you communicate that. And being friends with them, you're supposed to take that on the chin, figure out what you can do better. First, internalize whether you think they're tripping or they're not tripping, and you have a conversation about it. And if they hit you with new information, that might either have you go, oh, I am tripping, or I'm not tripping. You'll have a conversation again. And then after enough times, you either decide if you want to stay at the table, man up, and blah, 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 or you want to leave. And in her case, she didn't want to make those changes that were necessary, not just for her content and her overall success, but for her as a person. And when that's the case, you don't attach yourself to someone who's like defeating themselves, self-destructive tendencies, because you're going to blow up with them. That's like someone asks you to jump off a bridge and you jump off the bridge with them. It's okay to be a helpful person. It's okay to want to help them and save them. But you can't save everybody. That's something you learn. Basic example a lot of y'all probably know about JJK. Gojo tried to save Geto. He couldn't save Geto, so he took on Geto's ideology, so to speak. Same thing with Kakashi. Couldn't save Obito, took on Obito's ideology, and he eventually accomplished Obito's goal of becoming Hokage. That happens. Because if you instead attach yourself to that person and self-explode with them, you can't help other people.
Because we're trying to hold them accountable.
Neither brown nor white sugar was involved in this coding because they kept it pretty straightforward. Nina Lin is somebody that we don't have the same values, morals, and principles as, and therefore we are going to go ahead and sever ties with her. According to the two other members of the group O3, Nina Lin constantly wanted to do things her way, was the loudest one in every single argument. She struggled to see other people's perspectives, and they could not come to an agreement on what they stood for. In other words, it wasn't just one mistake, but it was the problem as to how she handled every single mistake. Shameless plug, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record every single time I say this, but you know, some people don't know that I did these things in my past, and also I like to give my real world experience as to how things go on behind the scenes. But I did work for a big group, one of the biggest groups on the internet right now. I'll give you a little bit of secret. It's 3 letters. It features 6 guys. AMP. And I also have a current podcast, which
because he's Lowe's brother, and Lowe was with Agent on Peer to Peer. I think that's what it was called. I had to search my memory banks for like a couple seconds. But yeah, that's Omar. He has his own brand, so I don't like associate him with that. But yeah, he was with a big group. He has like experience working with.
This is essentially a group channel as well, where I have 2 other co-hosts. And I'm here to tell you that the behind the scenes things that O3 said that they struggled with Nina Lin are things that happen in every single group. There's constantly going to be bickering. There's going to be people who are super creative trying to come to one conclusion, and somebody's going to be very loud in the conversation as to why their POV is the better way to go in this particular time. And as far as vision goes, hell, life changes those things. So oftentimes people aren't aligned as to what they're going to do in the next year, 2 years, or hell, 6 months even. But at the end of the day, the reason why AMP is still around, my podcast, Let's Give It a Buck podcast is still around, the Sidemen are still around, or any other group content is still around is because
I'm hoping it's just the camera. It's throwing me off. It looks like this side of his mustache connects and this side doesn't connect, which means this side's hanging and this side isn't hanging. But like here to here, they look the same, but I think there's just like a shadow going on here that's making my brain imagine that it goes all the way down here.
Because accountability and compromise are something that continuously happen in those organizations. And I don't even have to be a part of it.
Trying to throw butt on a dude who don't want your butt thrown on him, bro. And it's someone who, I'm not sure if he has like a mental disability or not, but he's very like shy and like people averse because he's had bad things like that happen to him in the past. So whether it's a disability or not, Whether you're just a regular person, you're like, yo, chill. That should be respected, bro.
And to know that. So if I think the thumbnail needs to be red and my podcast mate Bezos thinks the podcast needs to be blue, ultimately somebody needs to come to a compromise. And it can't always be my way or the highway. Otherwise, it's not a group channel. It's somebody's solo.
And beyond that, you become destructive to your own life if you don't allow yourself to compromise. It's like what I said in my media video that y'all may or may not see before or after this. So this is kind of fourth wall breaking. But there are barriers that we put up, and if you put up barriers that keep you only in your own personal circle, you're essentially appeasing yourself. You're not actually growing. You're participating in something called appeasement, where you're just feeding yourself what you think you want, and that's all you'll ever have, because your ambitions will never grow, you'll never challenge yourself, you'll never go in another direction that you didn't see yourself going in.
Project with some reoccurring castmates. And if you're gonna do that, gang, then I might as well stay on my own damn platform and do whatever I want to do. No, that's just the surface level stuff. There's also the fact that there's an accountability issue every time that Nina Lynn gets into some sort of scandal. Here's the truth about the internet. Creators can survive just about anything, any situation, any sorts of adversity, any bad problems, as long as they are self-aware about how they participated in that action. We've seen public mistakes, bad behavior.
Especially because the market of content creation is like relatability to people. So like people have made plenty of mistakes. We're willing to forgive, but if you're not willing to put in the work, it's like I'm not platforming somebody who's destructive. Not only because like my values disagree with your values, but people are very conformist. So it's like now that you've done that big mistake, the majority of people don't support you anymore. So I'm not gonna support you either. Like all the bandwagons shift too. So now you have 2/3 of the people who are gone, and then that 1/3 that's left is people who like really believe in you, and then some of them will think you crossed the line, and half of them will stay. So now you're left with like a sixth of what your population of like viewers were.
Behavior, bad tweets, scandals, the list goes on and on and on. Hell, I even think it's a problem in today's society that we are so forgiving, but that's just the reality of what it is. But the problem is when faced with those things that I just mentioned, if you're arrogant and your ego is forthcoming in all of these situations, then you're not gonna have a bunch of fans who will support you going forward. And these are some of the criticisms of Nina Lynn as told by others. She dismisses backlash. She calls critics soft.
Like in that clip, she was essentially saying like, "Can I touch you?" Because like she thought people were blowing her essay and the dude out of proportion. She was like making it seem like, "Oh, I can't touch nobody now. People are so soft." And then he said, "Yeah, you can." So then she started like punching him or whatnot, and he still wasn't complaining. So she was like, "See, y'all are weird."
She refuses to apologize, and oftentimes she doubles down in said behavior.
I be holding Ron accountable for shit. I be holding Adapt accountable for shit. They be holding me accountable for shit. As a group, we gotta come together, hold each other accountable. And sometimes you're not always right, man. And selfish people in a group will never work out, man. Facts.
You would never see me in a car with Jason Lewine. I promise.
I get that. You beef with him too?
No, he beef with me. I don't beef with him. Because everyone's bitch made.
He didn't say. Mind you, his take wasn't even, "Oh, you a bitch. Oh, I don't support anything you do." His take was literally like, "Oh yeah, like genuinely, sometimes you're wrong." How does that make you bitch made for like having enough awareness to realize that you can be wrong, you can make mistakes? Like people who have that mindset, it fries me, bro. It's like your mental maturity hasn't, past the age of being 6. And it's like, yeah, you've done things that require more mental acuity, but again, it's like different skills require training and like flexing to get stronger. And this type of it's emotional intelligence, which is different from emotional awareness. We get emotional awareness like 1, maybe even earlier than that, where you can just read someone's facial expression or read how they speak and know they're upset, right? Animals have emotional awareness. They can tell when you're upset. But emotional intelligence, understanding how someone feels, why they feel that way, how you play into that, how you could have had a hand in it, and how you now need to change how you're speaking to be accommodating of that, is something that requires real intelligence and reflection. So it's not insulting to say like her emotional intelligence skill is at the age of someone who's 6. That's not ridiculous to say, because I'm not calling you stupid. I'm not saying you have no intelligence. I'm not saying you have no emotional intelligence. But in this context, you think disagreeable means beef. You feel me? That's ridiculous.
Hey, what do you want me to do? You bitch made it is what it is, bro. Like, what do you want me to do? I can't lie.
Stuff like that is where the controversy stops being entertained.
Also, that like adversarialness only supports the person opposing you side. Because if your mindset is if someone's bitch made, you can't un-bitch make them, right? So in their mindset, you're tripping. They can't make you stop tripping. So it creates this mindset where this war or this separation is okay. And if your mindset is one that encourages separation, you're not going to have nobody. That's not because nobody wants you or you don't want nobody. It's because the ideology that you're sticking up for is indicative of having no one. And that's where people become depressed and they feel alone. Blah, blah, blah. They set up these walls that keep them away from people, but they want human connection. But they lack the emotional intelligence to see that this thing that you're clinging to is causing this problem that you don't like. So just get rid of this thing that you're clinging to and all will be fixed. And because they can't fix that, they think they're good, they hit their head on the wall. They think they're good, they hit a head on the wall. And that's why their life's miserable.
And starts becoming exhausting. When you start to be known for things like that, then ultimately people are going to want to move away from you. They're not going to want to hang out with you. Not only because their community has issue with you, people don't like to continuously see these arrogant people, be content creators, et cetera, et cetera. Right. Especially because a lot of these content creators are fan funded in the first place. Like the subscriptions and the watch time is all done by fans. Why would I want to watch somebody who is some sort of arrogant subscription?
I'm assuming this her same stream because like just the color and the setup. She's at 50K. And that other clip that was after all that, she was at 1K. And her daily sub goal was like 30.
And the watch time is all done by fans. Why would I want to watch somebody who is some sort of arrogant asshole? But also other content creators will move away from you because you're annoying and the fan perspective is just lost. You slowly start to burn those bridges over time. And then it becomes a sort of situation where people start to feel like they are guilty by association. And honestly, I think that that's a fair and valid criticism. I know that there's been some conversation about that this past weekend about hanging out with streamers who do controversial things as somebody who is a non-controversial streamer. But ultimately, people are going to start questioning who you align with as a content creator.
We see things in patterns. We put people in boxes. That is why heinous things like racism exist. That is also why if you see a berry that looks like a poisonous berry, you know not to eat it. It's a survival mechanism that when used on people, the most unpredictable thing can make you make mistakes. But because people are prone to make those mistakes and you're a content creator whose whole target audience is hella people, it doesn't mean over 80% of these people are making that mistake. But if at least 50% of those people are making this mistake and you have like 50,000 subs, you have 25,000 people who are like making you guilty by association because they see these patterns. Why are you cool with all these weird people? That makes you look weirder, despite if you make a statement or not.
If you're a controversial streamer and you keep going wild and you keep going crazy, somebody who is just a simple desktop reactor who is, pretty nonchalant and chill is not going to want to be seen with you. Because if they are seen with you, audiences are going to start to speculate and question where your values lie. This conversation to me isn't about shoplifting or arguments or viral clips or, just the other outrageous and controversial things that people say. Everybody on the internet is not perfect. Hell, I do wild stuff, from time to time. But at the end of the day, if you can acknowledge where you mess up, apologize for the things that you say, and then look to grow afterwards, then I think that everybody's okay with you being a simple human being. But if you double and triple down on those things, gaslight people, and then ultimately shit on not only just your fan base, but the other fan bases around you, that's when people have a problem. Now, do I think that this is the end of Nina Lynn? Absolutely not. Maybe for videos on this channel, unless she does some of the most absolute insane shit in the world, then of course I'm gonna get it off. I got a wedding to pay for. But I think even greater than her losing a couple of
shout out Omar and his wife, or I guess fiance,
different fans, or the commentators POV where they're giving videos for Nina Lynn, I think she's losing something that is much more.
Oh yeah, he doesn't have a ring on his finger. That's crazy. But I know they're like fiance tier, especially with him talking about the wedding.
Detrimental. That network that she had, the one that allowed her to go to these big and major events and be broadcasted to a much wider audience. Nina Lynn got something that people begged for, an opportunity, a chance, a platform, and a network that afforded her endless opportunities in this content creation field. And she squandered it because she couldn't take accountability for clear mistakes that she had done in her past. And I hope that this serves as some sort of lesson for.
It do, B-Lou. Shout out Omeezy for another valid, descriptive video on some of the common events in the news. As always, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you stay happy, healthy, and hydrated. You know what time to catch me next. Peace.